All right, today we are diving into the absolutely extraordinary life of a man who mastered the art of deception. Also, he could champion the truth. He started out as a world-class magician, but he became the world's most famous skeptic. His name was James Randi.
And you know, this one single idea? It was the core philosophy of James the Amazing Randi. To him, magic was an honest craft. You tell people you're going to lie to them, you perform an incredible illusion, and everybody enjoys the show. What he could not stand was when people used those exact same tricks to pretend they had supernatural powers.
So we're going to get to his work as a paranormal investigator, for sure. But first, you really have to understand where he came from. Because before all the debunking, Randi was a huge pop culture icon. He was a showman, famous for these breathtaking, death-defying escapes, right in the tradition of his personal hero, Harry Houdini.
I mean, think about that for a second. This guy understood exactly how to fool an audience because he did it for a living, night after night. He knew that our desire to believe is an incredibly powerful force. He knew that even the smartest people can be totally taken in by a skilled performer. And that insider knowledge, well, that would become his greatest weapon.
But then, his career took a really dramatic turn. He started seeing the tricks of his own trade, the very same illusions he performed for entertainment, being used to exploit vulnerable people. People claiming they could talk to the dead or heal the sick, all for profit. And for Randi, that just crossed a line. It's what pushed him from the stage into the world of scientific investigation.
And just to be clear, this wasn't some sudden career change. No, it was more of a lifelong evolution. It actually started when he was just a teenager. He saw a spiritualist preacher using simple mentalism tricks to fool his congregation, and Randi just couldn't stay quiet. He called him out on it, and was promptly arrested for disrupting a religious service. You could say that moment lit a fire in him that basically burned for the rest of his life.
Okay, so let's get into it. Let's look at some of his most famous cases, where he used that insider knowledge of deception to unmask some of the biggest frauds of the 20th century. This is where it gets really interesting.
First up, a guy who was absolutely everywhere in the 70s, the self-proclaimed psychic Uri Geller, famous for bending spoons with his mind. So Geller is booked for a huge appearance on The Tonight Show. The host, Johnny Carson, who, by the way, was an amateur magician himself, makes a very smart call to Randi for advice. And Randi's instructions were simple. Do not let Geller or his team get anywhere near the props beforehand. And sure enough, under controlled conditions, with props he couldn't tamper with, Geller's powers just mysteriously vanished. He sat there totally defeated on national television.
Then there was the televangelist Peter Popoff. On stage, it looked like he had a direct line to God. I mean, he was calling out audience members by name, even listing their home addresses and specific illnesses. The congregation was just floored. But the source wasn't divine, it was a tiny radio receiver hidden in his ear. As you can see here, it was a really simple three-step con. Get info from the audience beforehand, transmit it secretly, and then perform the miracle.
And this is the damning evidence. Randi's team got a radio scanner and recorded the secret frequency. This is his wife's voice, broadcast for everyone to hear on, you guessed it, The Tonight Show. The exposure was so total, Popoff's multi-million-dollar ministry completely collapsed, and he had to declare bankruptcy. It was just a perfect, undeniable debunking.
But Randi didn't just expose frauds. Sometimes he actually created his own just to prove a point. See, he was getting really frustrated that trained scientists, people who should have known better, were being fooled by the simplest magic tricks. So he decided to turn the tables with this brilliant, elaborate hoax he called Project Alpha.
He sent two young magicians into a parapsychology lab at Washington University. And for almost 3 years, they completely fooled the researchers into believing they had genuine psychic powers, using nothing more than really basic stage magic. The project was a stunning success and a major embarrassment for the parapsychology community. It was a powerful demonstration of confirmation bias, of seeing what you want to see.
So, after decades of establishing himself as the world's #1 expert on deception, a guy who could spot a lie from a mile away, Randi's own story took a shocking and deeply personal turn.
And it raises this crucial question, right? For a man who dedicated his entire life to uncovering deceit, was it even possible that the biggest one of all was happening right under his own roof?
And the answer, as it turned out, was yes. It was revealed in the documentary on Honest Liar that his partner of 25 years, Jose Alvarez, was not who he said he was. His real name was Davy Pena, and he was living under a false identity. In just this incredible twist of irony, the great debunker, the ultimate skeptic, had been fooled himself in the most personal way you can imagine.
But here's the really interesting thing. This personal drama, it doesn't overshadow his life's work. If anything, it actually reinforces his central message, that we are all fallible, that any of us can be deceived, especially when our own trust and our emotions are involved. And it certainly didn't stop his public crusade for reason.
To take that crusade to the next level, Randi really put his money where his mouth was. He made an extraordinary, very public offer to anyone, anywhere in the world, who claimed to have supernatural powers. The prize? A cool $1 million.
The rules were simple. Prove your paranormal ability under controlled, scientific conditions that you both agree on, and the $1 million is all yours. This challenge became his most famous tool for promoting critical thinking. It really was the gold standard for anyone making a supernatural claim.
And over the years, a whole lot of people tried to claim the prize. You had dowsers, remote viewers, energy healers, you name it. They all came, they all made their claims, and under the bright lights of scientific scrutiny, they all failed. That prize money was never, ever awarded.
Ultimately, Randi's legacy goes so far beyond just unmasking a few fakes here and there. He helped build an entire movement. He founded an educational foundation, created one of the world's largest skeptical conferences, and inspired a whole new generation to value evidence over just belief.
And this right here, this just brilliantly illustrates his ultimate message. In a world that is so full of misinformation, James Randi's life's work is this powerful call for evidence, for reason, and for the courage to question not just other people, but also ourselves. Because, as he taught us, the truth, no matter how mundane, is always more valuable than the most beautiful lie.